everyone, it's Ghost Girl again, and today I'm going to be doing another spooky video on a story that someone's told me. So this video is about if any of you guys have seen the story My Ex-Best Friend and the Story Traitor. The same lassie that told me this story about the house that she used to live in, and if you watched last week's video, the Orange Phantom, it was her dad that told the story about the Orange Phantom urban legend that I told you guys about last week. And today I'm going to tell you guys a story about one of her old houses that she used to live in before she moved into the scheme that I live in now. So I'm just going to get on with the story. This is about a haunted house that she lived in when she was young. So she told me that when she lived in her childhood home that there was a lot of spooky goings on, like things would move on their own, they'd hear banging, the door chapping, and then they'd answer that no one would be there, and then she'd find like her toys had been moved. Sometimes the toys would move on their own, and sometimes the toys would like make noises and she wouldn't know where they were coming from. Then she started hearing like the giggling, children giggling, and then she told me that sometimes she'd hear footsteps going up and down the hallway, and when she'd go to see what was causing the noise, nothing was there. And then she says when she got older she started seeing like children, like ghost children from the corner of her eye, and then she'd look and then nothing would be there, and it got to the point where eventually she was seeing like these ghost children in her house like almost all the time. And then her dad was getting like angry all suddenly and like breaking things and damaging things and doing things that just wasn't like a normal way for him to behave. And the family decided that they wanted to do like a history check on the house because they wanted to know why the house was so haunted and what was going on, because by this stage it was kind of obvious to them what was going on. Plus my ex-best friend and all her family are all like very well. Her mum and dad are very religious, but she's not. But her family are all like very firm believers in the paranormal, so they kind of knew like what was going on. Like it didn't take like them to find like a psychic or anything like that. They just kind of knew because they were firm believers. And I think their gran, when she was younger, also had a paranormal experience, which like, so they kind of knew about the paranormal and they knew what to expect and what to know. And that by this, as I said previously, by this stage it was kind of obvious what was going on. So they looked up the history of the house, and it's not a very nice history, I'll say that to begin with. So when her mum looked up the history of the house, she found out that there was hundreds of years ago, like back in medieval times, before their house was built, there was a tree where that house was located, and there was an old paedophile that was raping kids and doing things to kids. And back then in medieval times, the punishment for that was death, and I hate talking about this subject. I hate talking about anything that involves the harm of children. It like really bothers me. But I'm just gonna have to man up and tell this story for the sake of the viewers. But yeah, the penalty for that back then was death, and the guy was like hung to death by a tree, and that tree has obviously been cut down now, but their house was built on the exact same location as where that man was killed. And the dad was saying that he thought he was hearing voices and they were telling him to do things, and he was getting angry. And my ex-best friend's mum believes that this was the spirit of the paedophile, and it was making him like get angry and break things and destroy things and stuff like that. And then also when our mum looked up the history of the house, she found out that house used to be built, where it was built was like on the grounds of an orphanage, and a lot of the kids back then in that orphanage would have died of diseases like even the flu or rickets and stuff like that. Like back then there was a lot of diseases which are obviously curable now thanks to antibiotics, but back then a lot of children got ill and died, and these two kids that were haunting their house, we think they might have been the two kids that died of diseases. But Linda wasn't sure if it was or not, so she did eventually go and find a medium to contact the spirits and find out if this is really what was going on. So a medium came to their house and came to speak to them, and the medium did like a kind of seance to find out what was going on, and the medium told them that the reason that the dad was getting so angry in the house all the time and was doing all these mad things that was out of character for them was because it was that the man, the paedophile that got hung by the tree, he had died and became a demon, and now this demon was like doing things to the dad and speaking to him and whispering to him and making him angry and doing bad things and that. So the medium had to cleanse the house and vanish the demon out of the house and cast the demon back into hell, if that's the correct words that I'm using. Don't know, I've not sent any demons to hell, so don't really know much about that. But then the medium went and found out about the children that my ex-best friend and her siblings were seeing, and the medium said that the children in the house were in fact part of the orphanage, and the reason all the stuff and the toys were moving about, and the reason why only my ex-best friend and all her siblings were seeing the children is because the children wanted to play with my ex-best friend and all her siblings, but obviously weren't able to. And it turns out that they did die of a disease, that they were ill and they were in the orphanage, and they did in fact die with TB. And I think my ex-best friend's mum got very upset when she held that, because she's a bit like me, like gets upset when bad things happen to kids. So yeah, I think what eventually happened is they did move out of that house, and when my ex-best friend was about 10 or 11, she moved into my scheme. She doesn't live in my scheme anymore, she's moved away now. But yeah, that is the story of the haunted house that my ex-best friend grew up in as a child. I know this story isn't as long as the stories that I normally give you, but I thought this would be a good story to tell on the channel. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please like this video, comment down below, subscribe to this channel, and click on that notification bell so that you'll be notified when my next video comes out. That's everything for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye.